what I decided to do is, since I seem to be successful in lots of these wigglers, I'll end up probably with lots and lots of Corys. The bigger tank you have, the better for them, for the water quality, and for raising them. And so I have my old 20-gallon long tank, which is another one, just like this, when I used to have two 20-gallon longs. And this is a 5-gallon, 5.5 gallon, which is fine for just starting to grow them out. But once they get bigger and bigger, and if I have 60, 70 or whatever, or more, that actually survive to juvenile stage, I'm going to need more room for them. I mean, I could do it in here, but it'd be way too crowded for them. And so I'm going to keep this tank here going as it is while they're growing out. But in the meantime, I'm going to pull out right here on these shelves and the floor. I had my 4 violin cases. The 3 latest violins that I built, plus my original, my very first violin. And so the problem with me is that my house is super small, and finding spaces to put things is always a problem. Wall space, storage space. And so what I did was I took out these 4 cases and just searched around to figure out where I could put those cases so I could free up this space, because that height, I'm going to keep that top shelf because that's handy to have. But that space under that top shelf will be just enough for, I'm going to get 3 more of those 16 by 8 by 6 cinder blocks. So get 3 more of those. Or maybe I'll get 6 and just keep this tank here, might as well, as a quarantine tank. That would be good. So get 6 of those, because I figure 3 high is a good height. It's not ideal, but good enough height for me not to have to crouch down too much to see the tank. So get 3 more, or 6 rather, total, and use those not in this orientation, but lengthwise front to back, of course, because they're 16 inches long. The 20-gallon long tank is about 12.5 inches, I think, 11 inches or something, deep from front to back. And so that 16 inches would be perfect. And so I'd stack them over here on the carpet. You can kind of see the imprint of where I had when I was raising the African dwarf frogs in the 20-gallon long. I was using cinder blocks there too. And I think I might have just stacked them 3 across, left to right. And I had 2 by 6 boards across to set the tank on. And so I'll kind of do the same thing, except I'm going to make it stack it 3 high. So I'll have 3 high on both ends of the tank is about 30 inches long. So 3 high on one end, 3 high on the other, and two 2x6 boards across the top. And so I figure the top of the tank will be, see if I have, this is like a, well, this is a 2x6. And so if I have it, the top of the tank sitting on top of the 2x6, the tank will probably come up this high, which is a good enough height. And I have enough space, vertical space here for that to happen. So I'm thinking I'll do that. So everything, the only thing I'll have to buy are 6 of those cinder blocks, 2x6 boards. So I'll just get a 6-foot one, I think, and have them cut it in half. So I'll buy the cinder blocks, the 2x6 boards, and that's all I'll have to buy, because I have the 20-gallon long down in my basement. I have all sorts of equipment. I won't have to buy anything. I have lights, all my old equipment that I could reuse. And then let's see, what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to take that aqua clear, or maybe get a sponge filter, I'm not sure, but or I have sponge filters, but I like using the aqua clear, so maybe I will either buy another aqua clear, hang on the back filter, or use a sponge filter, I'm not sure. I won't need heater because I already have some old heaters. I won't need air stones because I already have those. And what's handy about putting it here is I have an old Fluval 30-inch, I think, light, 30 or 36, whatever it is, that I can hang from that shelf, as I used to do when I was using the Fluval light. I was hanging it from an overhead shelf like that, and so I can use that old light as well. And so I think that's going to work. I'll feel much better if I have a larger tank for these, if all of my wigglers survive to juvenile and adulthood. More room for them, better water quality for them. And so I think this is going to work. So I'll just take out those 2 shells. And I'm not going to use, I think I won't use these shelves for the, to put on top of the cinder blocks, because they're just particle board or MDF. I'm not sure what's underneath. I'll just save those shells for later, because you can never have too many shells. And the 2x6s are much stronger because you have a lot of weight. So 20-gallon, you figure a 20-gallon tank, it's at least 8 pounds per gallon, so that's 160 pounds with the tank filled with water. And so you want to make sure that your supporting board is super strong. And yeah, so that's what I'll be. And what's good about putting it here, at first I was going to replace this area and do it here across, from here to here. But then number one, it'll block my shelving storage area there. Number two, it'll jut out even further than it is, because I would place the cinder blocks in the other orientation. And if I decide to put the 20-gallon long here, that means I'd have to go through the trouble of removing these guys from this tank while I set up the new tank, and that's not good for them, and they have to do that. So I can keep them in here while I am setting up and cycling the other 20-gallon long, my old tank here, getting it all ready for them. And once it's ready, then all I have to do is take the wigglers out of here. By then, probably all the other eggs will have hatched, and I'll have all the wigglers that I'll end up having, and just transfer them to their new tank, their new old tank. So that's my plan. I always like to reuse the old stuff I have just sitting around. Okay, so that's my plan. I was thinking about it all last night and this morning, and I think that's what I'm gonna do. So it's off to Home Depot today to get some cinder blocks and some 2x6, 1 6-foot. I think they came in 6 feet lengths, which is perfect. So I'll just have them cut it in half. So I have 2 3-foot boards to put on top of the cinder blocks and support the tank. Cool. And I did find a place. That was the hard thing. I don't have space in my bedroom, under the bed or in the closets, but this is what I figured. See, I have cases all over the place, any place that I have any space. So this is what I did. I used to have, where those cases are, my cajon, and so I just moved the cajon there next to Hannah's metal crate, which I just haven't moved. It's handy to have. It's an eyesore, but it's handy to have this metal crate here in case I ever need it. So taking out the cajon and then moving this little ottoman, which is storage. There's music books and all sorts of stuff inside. Over a little bit, gave me just enough room for these 4 violin cases. Hannah's checking to see if it's okay. So, problem solved. That was the major problem, was just figuring out a place to store those cases so I can free up the space in the office room for the tank. Okay, new project. The new projects never end. I just moved the leaf, the almond leaf, and most of them were under the almond leaf. I kind of startled them. Let's take a close-up look. I think a lot are probably in the Java moss too. Let's take a look. And there's a couple that hatched. Maybe I'll take those out. Yeah, they go under the Java moss too to hide. That's what those were under. So you don't see them out in the open at this stage. They're mostly hiding, but it's good to know they're still alive. Now it looks like double the number because you're seeing the reflection in the bottom glass. But a lot of them are out and about. Maybe they get more active at night. I don't know. Look at that corner. Ah, I do see another wiggler in the egg tumbler. I'll take him out tomorrow. Maybe I'll turn the egg tumbler agitation down a little bit. But we shall see. But probably about 100 wigglers, and I hope I can keep them alive. I just started some brine shrimp today, so in 2 days the live baby brine shrimp should be ready, and I think they might be able to eat it. I've been giving them this finely powdered food called Cory First Bites, and basically it's egg yolk, but much easier and cleaner than actually boiling eggs and doing it yourself. Okay, I'm tired. My back hurts, but this is kind of exciting. If you look at the bottom, that's the reflection, and you see the bottom of their body, right? And it's orange. That's the yolk sac probably that they're still feeding off of, but it's getting smaller. And so I just put some hikari First Bites, which is one of the finest powders you can get, and basically is egg yolk, but much less messy than doing it yourself by boiling eggs and crumbling up the yolk. But so I think they're starting to eat. I have some brine shrimp going that should be good tomorrow probably, or the day after, some live baby brine, so they might be ready for that too. But yeah, this whole area of the tank has cleared out. The Java moss has drifted way over here. And I think the Indian almond leaf as well. Yeah, there it is. So they're not really hiding under that, which is good. I can kind of see them this morning here. But this is only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe this is about 10 of them or so. All the rest are probably hiding in there. Yeah, you can see movement in there. See, they're hiding in the Java moss. I don't really think I have any more wigglers. Well, I did it. When I do something, I tend to just keep going at it till it's done. And so here's what I did today. I decided that if all my Cory fry, 80, 90, let's see, I had 77. I added 16 more, so that's 93, and 3 more, almost 100 at the moment, and it looks like that might be it. But anyway, I had decided, I think I mentioned in my previous video, that I'm gonna keep this 5-gallon even after I move the fry into the 20-gallon. This was my old 20-gallon long that I had in my basement. So the first thing I did this morning was go to Home Depot, and I got 4 8x8x16 concrete or cinder blocks. Boy, are they heavy. It was quite an adventure getting them onto the cart, getting them into my car. Luckily, as I was starting to put the cinder blocks in the car, a nice gentleman saw me, and I don't look like a super strong person, so he came and asked if he could give me any help, and I said sure. And so he loaded 3 out of the 4 of them for me. I had done the first one, but boy, was it hard. Anyway, so I got the 4 cinder blocks. I got 1 6-foot redwood, I think, board, 2x6, 2-inch by 6-inch. And then I had Home Depot just cut it in half for me, so that gave me 3 feet lengths, which is just about what I needed. And so I have the cinder blocks, the two 2x6s on top of them, and then I went about setting up the tank. While I was at Home Depot, what I did was I got this tank from the basement. I did a water test, so I filled it on my deck, and wanted to see whether by the time I got back from Home Depot that there were no leaks, and indeed it's watertight. And so I put an Aqua Clear 30 on the left hand side. You see it there. That was new. I just bought it today because I like the hang on the back, because then you've got the whole tank free and open. I had an old heater. It's a Aquael or something like that. They used to be called Cobalt, but I think this company bought Cobalt off. And so then I put an air stone on the other side of the tank, and it's going to be bare bottom. And then I put cycled media that I had from my regular tank. I put that in this new filter, so it should be cycled. I'll test it tomorrow or Sunday, and should be good to go. So once again, the reason I'm doing this is in the event that I'm successful in raising these nearly 100 Cory fry to juvenile age, having the bigger tank will be much better for them. Oh, and another thing I did was, before filling it up, I had to make sure it was level, and so I put a shimmer too on one side. But I had this polycarbonate sheet left over from a previous project, and I cut it to size, cut a little corner out for the air stone hose, cut a little square out so I could lift it open, and cut it short of this side because all I have on this side is the hang on the back filter and the heater cord. Oh, almost forgot. And this was an old Finex aquarium light that I had. I think it was probably for this tank when I was, doing a tank upstairs, a 20-gallon, as well as the 20-gallon downstairs. But anyway, so I drilled some holes in that shelf there for some eye bolts, and I'm hanging the light that way. I also had taken away 2 of the shelves, and I think I showed you in my previous video how I had moved my violin cases. I can't remember if I talked about that. But I had violin cases here, 4 violin cases. And the problem with my house is it's so small, it's hard to find room for anything. But I found the space in my living room. And let's see, then I reinstalled a shelf up here because I do need a shelf up here. That's for brine shrimp, raising brine shrimp. And just kind of an all-purpose shelf there. Let's see, so anyway, I'm glad I got the 8x8 cinder blocks, 8x8x16, rather than the 6x8x16, which I am using for this stand, because it just, you know, for this little 5-gallon, it's sufficient. But when it's narrower block, it feels less stable if you stack them. Whereas these, super stable. And the 20-gallon tank, they say 8 or 9 pounds per gallon when you fill it. So say 9 times 20, about 180 pounds. Alrighty, so I'm tired. My back is hurting, but I got it done. I just couldn't stand doing it in little bits and pieces. Well, on Saturday morning, this morning, the first thing I did when I got up was to check the water parameters of my newly prepared 20-gallon long, because I had put cycled media in the filter in the hopes that it would cycle, do an instant cycle on the tank, so there'd be no ammonia, no nitrites. And sure enough, it was fine. No ammonia, no nitrites, and very little nitrates in this new tank. So it was ready for new inhabitants. And so what I did was, the first thing I did was I took a photo, as you see here, of what was in the original 5.5 gallon tank. Removed most of the Java moss and the almond leaves so I could more easily see them. And the way that I do it is to take a photo and then use a highlighter to one by one count the fry that I see. And would you believe it? There are 85 surviving fry. So that's a good sign. And so after I did that and knew that the new 20-gallon long home was safe for them, the temperature of both tanks was the same, about 76, 77 degrees. And I set about trying to catch these little guys to put them into the new tank. At first I tried using a net, but that was too hard to catch them that way. So what I did, I used a turkey baster to try to suck up a few at a time, sometimes just one at a time, until I had all 85 caught and transferred to the new tank. Those little guys are really fast. So it took me a while, probably, I don't know, half an hour or more to catch them all and put them in the new tank. I had already put the almond leaves, the 2 almond leaves, and the Java moss that I had into the new tank. And so it would give them hiding places, and they'd feel comfortable. Also, they can eat the mulm off the almond leaf and the Java moss, as well as I've been putting First Bites, Hikari First Bites, which is a super ground up powder made up of egg yolk, I believe, which is what they first feed on from their egg sac. But once that's gone, then they need more different kinds of food. And so I transferred them all, and things seem to be fine. And you'll see a little clip of what I see in the tank now. It's about 11:30 Saturday morning, and I have just transferred all about 85 wigglers into their new 20-gallon home. And I just put some Hikari First Bites in and a few Anubias from my 20-gallon to add to the plant matter here. I don't know if they'll like it or not. And they have their Indian almond leaf, and the little dusting you see on the surface is the Hikari First Bites. And I imagine a lot of them are probably under the Java moss and the Indian almond leaf. The Java moss keeps getting kind of swept over to this corner from the force of the filter flow. But we will see how they do. And how they like their new huge home.